on the Netflix side,
Well,
Sharon, what's yours? Sorry, Sean.
I think we're alone now. It's my Netflix film.
I actually thought
now.
I actually thought you were just saying that. I didn't realize that you're actually saying the name of the film.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, really? Sean's there.
Let's get ready to rumble!
Hello, and welcome to the podcast that has recently been quoted by the BBC. Well, maybe not quite, but when you see a headline on the BBC that says, "Is Netflix killing cinema?" and that is kind of like your tagline, you kind of start to put two and two together. My name is Tosin, and I will be your host for the next hour or so of you listening to this. And I am based up in Midlands, in the Midlands in Coventry. With me on the Isle of Wight are Sharon.
Hello.
And Sean.
Hiya.
How are you guys doing today?
Oh, Sharon.
We're doing remarkably well, thank you. It's been one of those days where I've been in and out of house, doing different jobs, and it's like in for a bit, out for a bit, in for a bit, out for a bit. So I think I've been in and out sort of like 5 or 6 times today. So it's quite nice to be sat down. Yeah.
Well, that's it. And me, I've, as I say, there's not been huge amounts at the cinema that I've seen this week, so I'm sort of slacking a little bit. I was away last week, so I've got some sort of excuse. But I found myself, we're on about the Netflix thing, watching quite a lot of documentaries, which, but anyway, so yeah, that's what I've done. I've come in and I've thought, I must go to the cinema, but then I've just sat down for a little while and I've just sort of flicked to see if anything interesting is on, and then I've got into something. So I don't know. I really hope Netflix isn't like suckering me in. My 3-month subscription runs out tomorrow, so I'm gonna do what Sharon did and have another month and see how it goes.
Well, you see,
I don't want to get suckered.
It does. Your consumption does slow down. I've known that mine is remarkably slowed down because you binge watch it when you first get there, and now I'm thinking, one film a week is all I'm managing. So it's getting to that point where it's like crunch time again for me, I think.
Cool. Okay.
Well, yeah. Okay. So this is the thing, because Sean, you're an avowed lover of cinema. You love the cinematic experience. You love going to the cinema, watching stuff, and I think you're the kind of person who cries about the fact that they don't make films in CinemaScope anymore or something.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly right. Yeah, they don't shoot them on celluloid, and they don't make them big widescreen versions, and But you're saying that, you're getting worried that the convenience of Netflix is getting to you. I am. I'm getting quite concerned, to be honest. I'm thinking, oh my God, instead of going out, whereas before, I used to go out a lot, but I'm finding myself staying in, and I'm not sure if I'm happy about that or not.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I like the idea of going out, because otherwise you can just become like a couch potato. And I've put on weight. I've put on weight, so I'm a bit, I need to lose some weight.
And I think we found as well, because we are cinema goers, we see all the cinema releases that get released onto Netflix. So it's not that content that is of interest, it's the stuff that we've missed. And a few things I've thought, I wouldn't mind seeing that again. And I've gone to have a look through the back catalogue, see if they've got it. And they haven't got it.
No, that's
and I'm thinking, hey, that's one of the ones I wanted to see. And because it's like, you feel like it should be instant gratification, that if you want it, it should be there. And you feel a bit cheated when it is not.
The thing is,
thinking, hey, what's going on here?
I looked for the Wild Bunch, and they didn't have the Wild Bunch.
Yeah.
But one thing that is quite convenient, I suppose, if you go away, is you can download films. You can, so you can save them. But having said that, I did that with Fury. I thought, because I love Fury. Fury's like top film. And I thought, I'll download Fury. Yeah. And I went to watch it on the ferry when I was away on the ferry, and it said no longer available. So I don't know how that works. And it said, and it's not, it wasn't on Netflix, so it's not. So obviously they must only have them for a certain amount of time, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
They must have a time period.
They have the license for a while, which is, we don't want to get into it, but no. I mean this particular thing I'm about to mention, because it's what's coming up with the fact that you have Netflix and excuse me, you have all the different for instance, Disney Plus, they're starting up their own streaming service. This week we heard that the BBC and ITV want to come something called BritBox.
Yes, I saw that on the news.
they're trying to fight with Netflix. And so what they're going to do is that they're just going to wait for the licensing with Netflix to run out. And I think they're going to pull all their content from Netflix so all of a sudden, in a couple of years, you won't find any BBC shows on Netflix because they'll all be on BritBox. And you won't find any Disney shows, and that includes the Marvel, the Star Wars. You won't find them on Netflix because they'll all be on Disney Plus. And so the license goes out after a while. Netflix doesn't have the right to show it. And I think Netflix saw this coming, which is why they are churning out a whole bunch of original content.
Yes, I think they've got to make it pay, haven't they? Yeah. And I think that's the only thing that's keeping me is the original stuff that keeps coming. Yeah. Because you can more or less guarantee you get a release a week of original content.
Yeah, and I mean that
much.
that there are a couple of good series on there which I think are Netflix originals, so it's good for that. If you're into your series and you want to
or exclusives.
Exclusives,
there's a couple of exclusives like the Star Trek Discovery. Yeah. That's one of the series I've been watching, and I think it's not made by them, but it's exclusive to them, I believe.
Yeah.
It's exclusive to them outside of America.
Yeah.
So it's like a joint thing because in America they have it's only shown on an online thing called CBS All Access, but internationally Netflix. So most of the people in the world who will see it on Netflix. In America, you see it on CBS Access.
Oh, right. Okay. That's another pay-per-view service, is it?
It's kind of like, from what I can understand, it's like, because CBS obviously is an American channel.
Yeah.
And, or network as they call it. And it's the CBS's version of iPlayer.
Oh, right. Okay. I'm with you. Yeah. So, So they can still show commercials and stuff, I guess, all the way through.
Yeah, well, because I think when you watch something like Discovery, you see that. Well, actually, I think because it's online, they only show it online.
Oh, right, okay.
I don't know what they do about adverts. I really, really don't know what they do about adverts with that. Well, I guess we'll find out. Sean, the next time you go to America, your mission is to watch CBS All Access and figure out whether they show any commercials.
I'm sure they do. Shows. It is America after all, and everything shows commercials. I'll tell you one thing that I'm really, and it's more and more, I used to love YouTube, but now you've got to pay for that if you don't want the adverts, because you get an advert that comes in like every 30 seconds, when you're watching, and you're just like...
You can't watch a whole programme.
Yeah, you can't watch, and it's like, what's going on? Skip ads.
Some of them you can't skip, and others you've got to watch the whole thing.
I know. So, I mean, unless you pay. So, that's a shame, really. But...
Yeah, well, they need to make their money somehow.
They do, yeah,
it's like,
exactly.
It's like the BBC, they make the money because they say license fee.
That's
it's like... So, I have a little bit of... Even though I feel like sometimes the adverts get a bit too much, I have a little bit of sympathy for that.
Yeah.
All right, cool. But I know that sometimes we can just get carried away and just keep going on and on and on about stuff, which, to be honest with you, I love them. I absolutely love them, but I realize, oh no, we have some stuff we have to get through. But because I quite frankly would just chat to you guys for ages. But the Oscars, did you guys see the Oscars, hear about the results? What did you think?
I didn't watch it, but I did look in the following morning, and I don't think I've ever seen it. But I do, but I did look up to see who'd won what. And there's a few surprises. I must admit, I'm surprised that Green Book won Best Picture. I liked it, but I wasn't sure.
More like it.
Yeah, I wasn't sure that it was like a Best Picture, but I certainly thought it was a good film.
Yeah.
But I'm surprised that came out on top. Well, I'm not as devastated as I was when Braveheart won.
Do you think there was any?
That was a dreadful win.
It was. That was. Do you think there's any politics involved in that?
I don't know. I think it's on message at the moment, isn't it? It's all about, this is what we want to promote. This is what the Oscars are about. By not having a host because of things he'd said in the past, and by they're thinking, we're going to be, multicultural. We're going to be embracing of different sexualities. We're going to be embracing of, women being involved in different roles. So I think definitely they've wanted to say the Oscars are not this sort of, old-fashioned old dinosaurs anymore. We are moving with the times. And I think some of these choices look a bit political.
The Oscars are massively political. They're massively political, and there's campaigning. I mean, once you hear campaign and people are campaigning, this guy was in our film, you vote for him for Best Actor, because it's a voting thing. It's massively political. So that's what. So I think Green Book, because I remember when we reviewed Green Book, I said the thing with it is, once the film starts, it goes exactly where you expect it to go. Like you see something in the opening scene, and you're like, okay, cool. So that guy by the final frame is going to realize the error of his ways, and is going to realize that all people are people too, and maybe I shouldn't have my racist tendencies anymore. And that's exactly what happens.
Yep.
And so for me, I thought I liked Green Book a lot, but I thought there were at least 3 films on that list that were better than it. So,
so who would have you had given the donk? Who would have you had said, and the winner is, according to Tosin, what would you have gone for?
So for me, well, the thing is, I look at it and I think I would have given it to Vice over. I would give it to Vice over Green Book. I think I would just. I think Black Klansman was on there for sort of like, a consolation. I don't think they were ever going to give it to Black Klansman. Because you know what you were saying about the certain things that are on point, because after the Oscar So White controversy a couple of years ago and all that, if they would really wanted to go and they wanted to say, we're doing something, they would have given it to Black Klansman. But I think Black Klansman is just too Spike Lee. It's too angry. It's just too far in the other direction. So I don't think that was ever going to win it. So I think Green Book was kind of like that middle of the road. And it's a problem that Oscars have had. Like, it's that middle of the road movie that everybody can go, yeah, let's give it this and let's make it. And that's, I think it became the mediocre choice because, quite frankly, I do not think it was the best film.
It did remind me when I watched it of Driving Miss Daisy, and I believe that one, didn't it, a few years ago?
Yeah, that one.
Quite a few years ago now.
I think 1990, and it also beat a Spike Lee movie to win.
Yeah.
So he was actually making comments afterwards. He was kind of like, it seems that every time somebody's driving somebody, I lose. Every time. It's like Green Book. He said it's pretty much Driving Miss Daisy, just reverse the races. Yeah. So personally, I mean, Green Book winning was I don't think the Academy covered itself in glory. I do not think that was the best film of last year by any chance. I mean, on that list, I would give it to Vice, Black Klansman. Let's see what other films were on that list.
Yeah, I really like Black Klansman. I think Black Klansman was it, but I'm surprised. I mean, we've spoken about these films before.
Roma was on there. People were expecting Roma.
You saw Roma, didn't you?
I would have given it to Roma above before I would have given it to Green Book.
Yeah. See, there was no. I mean, was Leave No Trace this year? Was that this year? That was last year. All right, yeah.
No, it was on the Oscars for this year. I think it actually had one nomination.
Okay.
Yeah.
It was Leave No Trace is one of the films people have been yelling about, saying, why was this not nominated? Why was this just totally ignored in the acting categories, in the directing categories? So it's Leave No Trace was, I think, was nominated for one of the technical categories, but was it screenplay or something like that? But it was not nominated generally with the way people thought, because a lot of people have agreed with you, Sean, and said that should have been in the nomination for Best Picture.
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, it was a class film.
It was a class. See, all of us, everybody on that. Do you know?
Everyone who's seen it have been like, yeah, that is.
I mean, when I was on the plane going away, and I was talking to sort of the person next to me, and they were looking through the films, I said, "That's a really good film." And she said to me after you watched it, she said, "Yes, that was a really good film." So, I mean, everybody I've spoken to have said what a good film it is.
I think it just went under the radar a little bit, and I think those sort of films are ones you really want to push and say, you really should see this, but they tend to get well overlooked by something that's slightly flashier or a bit more conventional. Yeah.
It would be a bit more conventional. I think that's the thing, and I'm just really I'm really saddened about Green Book winning, because I'm like, it just wasn't the best film. Come on. No. Come on, I mean, from what I've heard, I mean, Sharon, how would you rate it against The Favourite? Because you've seen The Favourite, I think.
No, I haven't actually.
That's me that's seen The Favourite.
Sean who's seen The Favourite.
Oh, it was
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed The Favourite, but I don't think it was. I wouldn't
better
say
than Green Book.
No.
So last year,
I put it on a par. But
The Shape of Water one, and I wouldn't have. Now that a year's gone by, you tend to think, oh yeah, that was a big deal at the time, but now I don't think it. People have almost forgotten it. So I think sometimes the best picture is not the best picture out there.
No, that's it.
And I think the Shape of Water in a few years' time, people are going to say, "Is it like The Emperor's New Clothes?" I don't see much in it.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I in it those films. I'd forgotten about those films. You're exactly right. When you say things like that, you've forgotten about, some of the movies that you've sort of watched. But You know,
Yeah, for me, that's just 2 years in a row where the Academy has made weird decisions regarding best film.
Yeah,
because
sure.
they've made because I'm like, how? Because Shape of Water. I've gone on record saying I was not a big fan of that film. I thought it was way too.
I thought it was okay, but I didn't think it was. I didn't think it was absolutely. You know, it didn't blow me away.
It
wasn't
the fairy tale fantasy that I was expecting it to be. That was enchanting and magical, and no, it wasn't.
But as I say, when you talk about films, you think, you know, I think all the films I've seen, it's the ones that stick in your mind.
Yes.
Like, we keep coming back, and we've said this over numerous weeks, and I know it's probably a short time, but films like Leave No Trace, they stick in your mind. Yeah. They're there. Whereas Shape of Water, like you said, you've forgotten about it until you mentioned it again. Never sort of crossed my mind. So yeah, those films that stick with you, I think, are the ones you remember. So you know, we'll see anyway.
But yeah, it's nice to see Olivia Colman got Best Actress.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah,
I think she's likeable, isn't she? So we don't mind her. Get something.
Yeah, I was rooting for Glenn Close. I was looking for Glenn Close to win Best Actress, but Olivia Colman, I'll take that.
Yeah. Yeah, Black Panther got a couple of wins, did it?
Yeah, it got a couple of wins. Costume. It got wins for costume. Yeah. Excuse me. Sorry.
Yeah, I thought that was
a big win.
That's one thing I like about. I thought that film. In Black Panther film, I thought that really showed the African culture, and to me, it seemed like the different types of clothes were from, you know, you could see from that continent, and it was really, really nice and colourful. And
they'd obviously done their research, haven't they? Saying that you don't mix and match them. This is a look, and this is a look, or this is a historical reference, and they sort of tried to keep it pure, didn't they? Or do they not? I mean, I'm speaking as someone who's never stepped.
I mean, the clothing the costumes were fabulous. I think.
The costumes were absolutely brilliant, and as an African, what I can say is that you can see the influences from different countries around Africa that they put into it. Like I've told you guys about me, sort of like almost kind of like hitting the roof when he walks in, and there's something called kente that comes from Ghana that's actually incorporated into his outfit, and you're like, oh my god! And so you can see that, and I think for people who maybe have never been to Africa or anything like that, to been to any African country, I think it's quite good. It's good that they can see that, and they can have it's almost like an intro into it. It's not. I've said before, it is not quite African. It's because, for instance, the film. Anyway, I'm just going to say yes. They did a good work. They did a good job. I'm not going to go into that. That's not what we're here to talk about. But it's. I wouldn't say it's entirely African, but it's really, really good. That's my thing.
Gives you a flavour.
It gives you a flavour. It goes into different. It did a very, very good job. I think it did a very, very good job. There's still work to be done, but it did a very good job. Excellent. All right, cool.
Okay, cool.
And also, seeing as we're talking about Netflix versus cinema, one of the big stories was the fact that Best Director and Best Cinematography both went to Roma, which was Netflix, as far as I was concerned, it was their big play. The big play for, we are coming in here to mess the party up. We're going to come in here, we're going to steal your China. So I think that I think they've done a really good job with that. I think Roma, I would agree, of all the films that were nominated for Best Director, I think Roma is the one that probably has the strongest vision of what a director's trying to do, where you can look at this and you go, yeah, that's a director's film. So I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that, even though, quite frankly, I really have a soft spot for Vice. And Rami Malek as Freddie Mercury getting the Best Actor, I'm like, don't know about that. I'll give him to Christian Bale. But
yeah, I mean, I liked Bohemian Rhapsody, but I don't think it was the best film or he was the best.
No, because he was playing a part, wasn't he? Really, and he might have looked good and all that, but at the end of the day, you're still playing a part. You know.
Well, no, but I think it's a brilliant performance. But it's the same thing you could say about Christian Bale with playing Dick Cheney. I think Rami Malek is a brilliant performance in Bohemian Rhapsody. I just think that Christian Bale's was better.
Okay, that's fair dues. I haven't seen Bohemian Rhapsody, so I can't comment.
You haven't?
No, I haven't seen. But I've seen Vice, and I did think that was a good movie, and he was. But I mean, I'm a major Christian Bale fan. I've loved him in everything. I liked him in that Hostiles. I thought, to me,
that is such a good film.
See, that was a good film a few years ago. Yeah,
Hostiles. There's that bit where he shows the whole lot of emotions, doesn't he? He goes through the whole You know what I mean? Especially that bit when he has to walk away and he has to sort of get himself together. There's a bit like that in Fury as well at the beginning, where Brad Pitt has to walk away and you sort of see him physically pull himself together. But Christian Bale is great in everything.
Yeah, it all comes back to Fury.
Yeah, he does transform.
It all comes back to Fury for sure. I actually wonder what would have happened if they'd cast Christian Bale in Fury. I think he would just have died and gone to heaven.
I think, I think it would have been. I mean, I love Brad Pitt too. I mean, two of my top. Well, I suppose my three favourite actors of this sort of contemporary actors now is Brad Pitt, Leonardo DiCaprio, and Christian Bale, and I think they're like super actors. And I'm
way ahead of everybody else.
And I'm looking forward to the Tarantino film Once Upon a Time in Hollywood because two of those are in it. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Let's crack on.
Yeah, let's crack on.
Let's crack on. So earlier in this, you might have heard me say something about the BBC copying us, and essentially, if you look on our Twitter account, that's Netflix vs Cinema, you would see that earlier this week we posted a video from the BBC that actually asked the question: is Netflix killing cinema? There are some statistics from that I think are really, really interesting about viewing figures and how. That is weird that even as Netflix subscribers has gone off, so have cinema attendances, which I thought was really, really weird. But we can talk about that later. But now we're going to get into the section of the show where we talk about what we've seen in the cinema and compare it to what we've seen on Netflix this week. So we're going to kick off with a big one, Cold Pursuit.
Yes.
Cold
yes,
Pursuit.
This is a slightly controversial, not because of the film, but because of the remarks obviously Liam Neeson made beforehand.
Yes. This was the film that sadly got its premiere cancelled because of some comments that Liam Neeson made, but more to the fact, I think, due to the reaction to the comments that Liam Neeson made. So, Sean, do you want to take this one up and tell us, so Cold Pursuit, what do you think?
Cold Pursuit, okay. What did I think of the film? Well... it was okay. Liam he's made a lot of these sort of movies recently, hasn't he? With Non-Stop and some of the others.
Very briefly, what's it about?
Oh, what's it about? Okay, basically it's about, starts off with someone gets killed and the sort of guy finds out it's his son, and it's end up that it's a little bit involved with drugs and that, so he decides who he wants, he's going to find the people who killed his son and basically get his revenge. So it's basically a revenge movie. That actually sums it all up.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some interesting twists because you've got some Native Americans in there, which I think is quite an interesting. For me, it had moments I liked, and moments that is stupid. It's like, you wouldn't do that. You would not do that. Why would you do that? Why would you come in like blazing like that? It just would not happen. And so,
there was one particular scene, wasn't there? With
there's about five.
Let's just say with there's one thing I was thinking was the hitman. You think, God. I didn't know a successful hitman could be so stupid.
My God. Oh, my God.
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean.
And it is. I mean, I suppose, for a fun film, it was okay. But I mean, I had quite a few issues with it, to be fair.
Well, the thing with this it's because, as you say, it's pretty much Liam Neeson has made a lot of revenge thrillers recently, and this is essentially Liam Neeson does revenge thriller in the snow. That's pretty. And,
he's done it in the desert. He's done it in the city. He's done it
on planes, trains,
and now he's
gravestones.
Yeah. I think at the moment he's just having fun. He's just showing up for the paycheck, going, who do I need to punch, and he's going with it. But the thing, when the trailer for this came out, because I haven't seen the last couple of Liam Neeson revenge thrillers, when the trailer for this came out, I actually thought, there's something different about this. This film seems to be in on the joke. It seems to realize how silly these things are, and it's making it. There's just a couple of lines in the trailer, and the way the trailer was done, that made me think they're making fun of the whole thing. And personally speaking, I feel like the final film actually follows through with that. I feel like there's scenes in it that I found myself laughing, where it's like darkly comic. It's like this dark humor. Like there's one particular. there's one particular scene in the first, because obviously he's going through and trying to find everybody responsible for his son's death, and he wants and just wiping them out. And the first killing that he does in the film, there's a bit in it where I actually laughed out loud and immediately thought, oh my God, I don't think I'm supposed to be laughing. He's killing somebody. and I feel like they just kept doing things like that throughout the film, which I personally quite liked. And I felt it was kind of like they'd sort of like, we know Liam Neeson does a lot of these films. Now we're going to take the piss a little.
I think this is based on a Norwegian film called In Order of Disappearance. So, you know,
it is, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen that film.
The same director who directed that film directed this film.
Oh, right, okay, so it's probably similar.
Well, it makes me want to go see that film because
it does me as well, actually.
Yeah.
Because there's bits of this that start hinting at something that's a little bit more
gritty,
philosophical, actually.
Right. Yeah.
Philosophical, like, you know, the whole thing's like when the Native Americans show up, and there's this thread running through of the film of sort of like racism and what has happened and how these different people see different people, like the fact that even the Native Americans have an actual Indian who is, because obviously Native Americans, the white people in the film refer to them as Indians, so like almost sort of dismissively. And the Native Americans, there's a bit where they go, wow, get the Indian to do it. So you realize that they have an actual person from the country of India who works for them. and it's all these sort of throwaways. And I feel like there's something in there about racism and about race and about how different people work in different ways. And there's this thing about okay, you know, a bit like in Hostiles, we're talking about Hostiles, and there's this thing about the fact that you have all the people of European descent who showed up, and there's a thing of, we are on their land. What right do we have to do this to their land? And it's weird because there's that element in Cold Pursuit, which you're like, wait, what on earth are they doing with this? But it makes me want to see the original Norwegian film, because I feel those are the kind of themes that they will probably have gone in deeper into in a Norwegian film that might work in Norwegian, but once you translate it to Hollywood, doesn't work
in
as well.
Norway, it's the Sami, isn't it? The Sami tribe, who are the northern in the Arctic Circle, who are treated like second-class citizens. They're
Right.
Oh, you see, I did not know that.
No, I did not know
they
that.
have got their sort of like almost indigenous peoples who were like reindeer herders of times gone by, but they're regarded as being, you know,
they're sort of like you do in like most countries, I guess.
But they're sort of an indigenous, But
on about that, I really like the bit in the resort where they're checking in. That was, I thought that was.
You can't get in without a reservation.
It's like,
I thought
what?
that was.
It's like, you need a reservation. Did you just really say that to me? Oh my God, I'm so sorry. And the way it goes, do you have any idea what I could do to you?
That's
on
it.
Yelp. So that's the thing. This film constantly made me laugh. And
I guess it
made me just think that they realized that the whole idea of the Liam Neeson revenge thriller is becoming a bit of a trope, and I think they use that to their advantage. Like they even have these recurring motifs of what he does when he actually kills somebody, which each time they went back to it, it made me crack up. And it was so, I was like, oh my god, he's dumping a body and I'm laughing my head off. What is wrong with me? But I think you're supposed to laugh at it, but still, it's a little bit weird. but I really enjoy the film, and I know that it's a bit all over the place. There's some bits of it that like what you were saying. If you're trying to look for logic, there's things that just do not make sense. There's things that you think, if this person was actually a trained killer, why the heck would they do that? That makes no sense. If this person was, and weirdly enough, a film that I would compare it to is Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels.
Yeah, you see, loads of people love that film. All my mates say it's the best film, and like snatching that. It's okay, but I'm not like a major fan of it. But yeah, people love that movie.
Yeah.
Oh, that's me.
But you know that there's a bit, but I'm sure you guys know the bit, like towards the end, like the way the climax it sort of builds up to. There's a scene in Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels that all I can say is Zorba the Greek Greek scene.
Yeah.
It made me think a lot of that, and then the film ends on a very, once again, this sort of philosophical note or philosophical shot that is preceded by another bit of really, really, really dark humor. And I was just kind of like, this film is bonkers. This film is all over the place, but quite frankly, I love it. I really, really enjoy the film. Sorry, Sharon. Okay. Sharon, we'll let you have the final word before we say how many stars we'd give it.
Oh, okay. Yes, I mean, I must admit, I didn't quite buy into the black humour so much. I could see elements of humour in it, but I thought as a sort of thriller with black humour, I didn't find it very thrilling or very funny. So I would say I would probably had a more tempered response than you did. But I could see that, it's Liam Neeson doing what Liam Neeson does, isn't it, really?
Yes, it is, really.
It's been a few years since he was in, like, The Mission or Excalibur. So, this is what Liam Neeson does.
It's a pay packet, and it's a wage packet, I guess.
So you have to take it for what it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'll leave it at that. I don't want to be too harsh.
No. Feel free. But okay, so how many stars would you give it? I think this is when the harshness comes out.
I would give it a 3.
Okay. I would have to concur. I'll give it a 3 because it was entertaining enough, and I had some issues with it. So it's okay to watch. It's Liam Neeson.
Yeah, I mean, I'd say you watch it and then you forget about it by the time you got home. I think.
That's it. Yeah. So I'll give it a 3-star as well.
Oh, cool. I was expecting a 2 from Sharon. I personally would. I think it just about sneaks into a 4 for me.
Right,
because I think that they're doing something a little bit subversive with it. I think that they know that, look, the Liam Neeson trope is, and so there's bits of it that I personally think they're just making fun of the Liam Neeson trope of, oh, look how gruff he is, look how hard he is, look how many people he's gonna kill. Oh yeah, he's out on revenge for whatever reason. So I would give it a 4.
Okay, cool.
All right, cool. And now we go on to a Netflix film, and this is one that Sharon you've seen, and you said I think we're alone now, and you have a track record of going into Netflix and finding things I have never heard about before. So
yeah, I think they just randomly come to me. Yeah, I think We're Alone Now is a 2008, and I think it is a Netflix exclusive, but it stars Peter Dinklage. So I've only got a very small cast. There's only 4 talking parts in it. It's Peter Dinklage with Elle Fanning, with then smaller roles by Charlotte Gainsbourg and Paul Giamatti. And basically we find ourselves without really any explanation in a post-apocalyptic world.
Oh, another one.
Where we think people have just died of some sort of illness. Because the opening scenes you see Peter Dinklage's character basically cleaning out a house. He's checking for perishables, he's checking for food that he can keep, and then he's basically taking care of a body that's been found in like a bedroom, and then you see him taken away to this vast graveyard, and where he's basically been going road by road, he's been clearing his town. He's the last person left in his town. And he's found a way of living. He's moved into a flat in the local library, and he's basically going through all the Lent library books, and he's going and retrieving all the books and restoring the library to perfect order, and he's just finding a way of just getting by day by day by going through the town, clearing it out, and then just creating order out of what seemingly is chaos. And then into his order, suddenly this young girl comes screeching in and basically disrupts everything. And then you see how he has to adjust to having someone else around, having got used to the idea of him being completely alone. And then she brings with her some baggage. And so I won't tell you any more than that. So it's very much, it's quite intense. It's quite a low-key film. But it sort of appeals to me. It just appeals to me. I like things that are not flashy. It deals with an apocalypse in a everyone's dead sort of way.
Get on with life, yeah.
Yeah, you don't see the sickness and the coffin and the dying. This is it's months after that. Most of these bodies are past the juicy stage, so they're sort of desiccated, so they're easier to sort of dispose of, whether they're not still sort of oozy. So it's like you get the feeling that this is quite a long time after these traumatic events, and people are finding their own way through. And then you meet Charlotte Gainsbourg and Paul Giamatti, and they have a different way of coping with the post-apocalyptic world. And you see how these two ideologies come up against each other. So yes, it's a quiet.
Paul Giamatti,
yeah.
See, now I some film. I'm not a big fan of Paul Giamatti, I'm afraid.
Well, he's okay in this. I mean, it's not the reason I would watch it.
No.
I watched it because I just love Peter Dinklage. And it did remind me in tone of a film I absolutely adored from a few years ago now that Peter Dinklage did, way before he was Tyrion Lannister, way before he appeared in a lot of these more popular roles. He did a film called The Station Agent. About a man who inherits a train station in the middle of nowhere in America, and he forms this sort of group of people around him. And it was just the most beautiful
that was a film I always wanted to see and never got a chance to.
I saw that at the cinema, and I was the only person in the screening.
How cool! How cool is that?
And so it was just like, so I had this mental picture of seeing it on this huge screen by myself.
Nice.
But no, that was a perfect film, I think, in many ways, The Station Agent. So this, I felt, was in tone. This was like, you take that station agent guy and put him in Apocalypse, and this is what you get. And so I really rated this film. I thought it was, it took the post-apocalyptic world and did something a bit different with it. And the fact that your main character is a dwarf, but they never mention his dwarfism. It's never referred to at all. And I think that's perfect as well. Again, I think in Station Agent, it is referred to a few times, and he talks about it in quite a dismissive way. It's like, this is not the most interesting thing about me. And I think in this film, the fact that he's a dwarf is not the most interesting thing about him. So why should you talk about it when there's much more interesting things about this guy to unearth than just what he looks like. So I thought it was a great little film.
All right, cool, good. So how many stars did you give it?
I would definitely give this a 4.
Ooh.
You know, Sharon, I think I might make you my Netflix agent. I'll just say, Sharon, what have you been watching Netflix this week? I need something interesting.
That does sound interesting.
Yeah, because I'm looking at it now and I'm like, oh yeah, how did I never see this?
Yeah, it just popped up on my, you might like this one. And I thought, I think I will.
Peter Dinklage? Oh, why not? Why not? Yeah, we'll try that out. All right, cool. And so that's a good one. Good. Netflix, once again, pulling it out. I think it's not actually a Netflix movie.
Is it not? Okay.
But it qualifies because it's a film that you've never actually seen before.
No, I've never heard of it before.
Yeah, I really don't think this actually came through cinemas here. I really don't think it did.
No. And it was only last year, so it's just like, where did that come from?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it got the Excellence in Filmmaking Award at the Sundance Film Festival, but we never heard about it. And without
we didn't
Netflix,
hear about it, did we?
Yeah, we would have missed it. Also, thank you once again. Sharon is like the Indiana Jones of this book.
Finding buried treasure.
Buried treasure. All right, so now we go back to the cinemas and we speak about Instant Family. Sean, you've seen this.
Yeah, Instant Family. As I say, I'm not a major comedy. I mean, I do. There are a few surprises, and I do enjoy them. I'm a bit like Sharon with her animation with comedies. You know. So Instant Family. Basically, it's a story like there's this married couple, and they've sort of been wanting kids and whatever. So they decide that they're going to foster some children. So they go to a foster agency, and they obviously say, "Oh, this person's interested in that," but there's like 3 of them. So if you take one, you're going to have to take 3. So they decide they're going to take the 3. And obviously there's things that happen. They want to, they're trying, and it's difficult for them, obviously, which it's bound to be. So that's basically the story.
From having no kids to 3.
To 3, yeah. So that, they built a house. Mark Wahlberg is Mark Wahlberg. He's just, that's what he is. That's what he is. And now he doesn't act.
Daddy's Home and the one he did.
He doesn't act, does he? He doesn't act. He's just Mark Wahlberg. And so he's exactly the same. It doesn't matter if he's in a serious role or comedic role or whatever. He's Mark Wahlberg, and he can be quite clever, I think, in some amusing roles. But what I liked about this film was that, as well as them adopting, you've also got other people that are adopting, and they obviously go to these sessions where they all have to explain what they want and, or how's it going and what's happening and all that. So, and these are quite good, these sort of group meetings, because there's obviously people that will be quite funny, and, so yeah, it's what can I say? It's one of those, just a sort of, plain comedy, really.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Because to be honest with you, this is a film that I saw the trailer of, I saw the poster of, because it's got Mark Wahlberg, which, as you say, Mark Wahlberg can just coast on being Mark Wahlberg. and Rose Byrne, who I love. I love Rose Byrne in almost everything that she's been in.
Yeah, Rose Byrne is great. Yeah, I must admit, I like Rose
is.
Byrne. She's really good. She's really good. Yeah, she's really good.
But I looked at it and I thought that looks massively generic. But it sounds like you say it sort of manages to go a little bit further than just being massively generic.
Yeah. I mean, as I say, there are some good elements in it. There's one particular. There's like a single lady that wants to adopt, and I've seen. I don't know what actress she is really. I'm not sure what actress she is, but I've seen her in some other things. And I can't really place her. I can't really place her. So,
I know how you feel.
Yeah.
I had a very similar thing when watching a film this week. I was like, I think I've seen them before.
Yeah. I mean, for actors from years ago, I'm really, really good on actors, directors. I can do all those, but all this new contemporary stuff, I don't know if it's just because I can't remember it, but I can't remember.
Yeah. Some of them have a look though, where they all look very similar. I find some of these very attractive young actresses. They're all beautiful, but they're all very beautiful in a very similar way. So I find it quite hard to tell one apart from the other.
You've got Octavia Spencer in this, who I think is
she's always good.
She's good. She's a real good standard actress. So, there's also the actress I'm thinking of. She wants to adopt a specific person, obviously a specific child, like with certain traits, certain abilities and all that. And obviously, so she's like the butt of a few of their jokes. So, he's got to be up there, he's got to be this, that. And, ends up with someone who's totally different. But, it's, it's a feel good movie, and it ends quite well. And it was better than I thought it was going to be.
Right,
I have to say it was better than I thought it was going to be. So, yeah.
All right, cool. Coming from you from a comedy with Mark Wahlberg, I'm going to call that a glowing recommendation. So
yeah.
How many stars would you give it?
I'll give it a 3. I'll give it a 3-star because it was okay. It didn't, I wasn't like I didn't hate it. I wouldn't say it was like something that I'll always remember, but yeah, I mean it was okay and it was fun and there were some good moments in it and a good cast really. The cast was pretty cool.
Did it make you feel anything at any point?
What you mean, as in feel good or like angry? No, it was okay. It was like one of those watch films, I'll probably those ones we took, like we spoke earlier, where I probably fade from memory and it'll be.
And then you'll sort of go years later.
I've seen that. Have you ever Sharon? I don't know, and you, Toes. Have you ever sort of sometimes maybe on TV seen a film? And you thought, I've seen this before. You don't know what it is. It's a new one, and you think, I'm sure I've seen this. Maybe years ago, but I don't know. Yeah. So, and it ends up you have seen it. Oh no, I must have seen this. Like I've forgotten about it.
You've just forgotten. Just
forgotten.
Yeah. I have had that. I've had that before. I've also had the thing where I'm watching a film and I'm confusing it for another film.
And you're thinking, why hasn't that happened? Have they cut this to
wait,
time?
I'm pretty sure they've missed out the bit where Arnold Schwarzenegger does. That's another film.
That's another one.
That's another one.
Actually, the funny thing is, one of the funniest things I've had with this is a friend of mine. He tells, it's one of these he said, she said things, but he tells a story about his cousin. His cousin gets in touch with him, and his cousin is like, you know what? It's like, Man of Steel, I really, really like Man of Steel. I thought that was really, really good. The first bit where they're talking, the bit where they're talking about who Superman is and why he does what he does, I really, really like that. But the sequel, where they just start punching each other, I do not like the sequel. And my cousin was like, what do you mean the sequel? They haven't made a sequel. And he's like, yeah, the sequel where like the bad guys show up on Earth and he starts punching him. He's like, dude, that's the same film. And he was like, what?
It was just a very long film.
It was just but it's something I've said about Man of Steel. It has two distinct parts. One bit is good. One bit just becomes a punch nonsense. Yeah. Okay, so 3 stars for Instant Family. All right.
3 stars,
cool.
Yeah.
3 stars. Now we go into High Flying Bird, which is a film on Netflix. It's one of the Netflix originals. And this is them sort of flexing their might again. This is Netflix and it's directed by Steven Soderbergh, who is known by, all the way from Sex, Lies and Videotape through to Traffic, Ocean's 11. I think there was a film he did, he retired and he came back and he did Logan Lucky.
Oh, Logan Lucky, yeah.
Yeah, he did Logan Lucky, which I think, Sean, you and I both saw, and we quite like that film.
We quite like Logan Lucky,
Yeah, that was with Daniel Craig, wasn't it?
That was Daniel Craig, yeah.
Yeah, that was Daniel Craig playing a sort of like a redneck hick kind of person. And so he's come back, and I think now he's all about being experimental, and he's been like that for ages. He doesn't want to spend a lot of money. He wants to try and shoot things quickly, all that. And he made the film Unsane, which had Claire Foy in it, and the whole selling point was that it was made on an iPhone.
Yes, I remember the publicity around that rather than actually seeing it, but I do remember
I saw it. I was a little bit disappointed, I think. I seem to remember. I think we might have reviewed it on one of our other shows.
Yeah, we did. Yeah. But now this is his second film that he's made on an iPhone. And it's called High Flying Bird, and I really, really like this film. I was watching it, and I didn't actually realize it was shot on an iPhone until afterwards, because the film is beautiful. I mean, compared to something like Unsane it used the fact that it was an iPhone, and some places where it gets all gritty, and because it's like a paranoid thriller, it uses the fact it's not supposed to look good, and I think it actually leans into that. And with this film, it's essentially, imagine if Jerry Maguire was directed by Spike Lee.
Oh, right, okay. Yeah,
that's kind of like my one line pitch for this. I mean, it does the film a disjustice, but an injustice. But that's kind of what it's like, because it's set during a basketball lockout, which means that essentially the players have gone on strike. The players have gone on strike in the NBA because they want more money from the owners. The owners are saying, we're refusing to give you any more money, and so there's just this sort of like standoff. It's kind of like a basketball Brexit or something. where they're just sort of saying, we want more money, we don't want to give you more money, this is our thing, no, this is our job, and it's all about this one agent, this sports agent called Ray, played by Andre Holland, who is brilliant in this. And it's about him thinking, what do we want to do with this? What can we achieve with this? And it asks a lot of questions about the way sport works, and whether you have okay, for Sean, I know you're a football fan.
Yes, right, yeah.
And the fact that you have all these players who are there, and people say, oh, they earn too much money. But at the same time, you have all the owners who are earning even more money off these people who are putting their lives on the line, and not their lives, but their bodies on the line. So it asks questions like, if this person is only going to be played, only has about 10 years of their life to be able to do this, and after that, they don't know what they're going to do. Shouldn't they get paid enough for those 10 years of their life, especially if they might get injured, they might fall over, break an ankle, and that's it. Their career's over. They can't make money anymore. Shouldn't they get paid? And it asks all these sort of questions about that. But it also has, because it's America, it has an element of, this is where the Spike Lee thing comes in, of race in it. Because when you first start watching the film, everybody you're introduced to is black. But the higher up the echelons you go, and so you start off like talking with the players and with the agents and all that kind of stuff, and everybody's black. But then when you now start getting into the boardrooms, and then you start that's when you start seeing all these white people, and it becomes this weird thing about, okay, all these white guys are sitting around talking about what they're going to do with these black people, and they hint at it. They have one character played by Bill Duke, he's like an old school coach. And he has this whole thing because people keep talking about, trying to compare the whole thing to slavery, or a whole bunch of black people working for a white guy. And he goes, but anytime anybody sort of mentions anything about slavery in it, he makes them say this phrase, and it's like, I love the Lord and all his black people. And so you have all these great different characters who come together, and it's all about what's going on, how are they going to use this situation for their own benefit. But it's such a good film. It's stylish. It's whip slap. I think if you watch this, you might have to have subtitles on, because a lot of people talk quite quickly. It's kind of sort of like rat-a-tat-tat-tat dialogue.
Yeah, I find that hard to follow, actually.
Yeah, it's I mean, to be honest with you, the first scene of the film, I put the film on and thought, okay, I can do some other stuff while I'm watching this film. And after a while, I was like, no, I can't do anything while I'm watching this film. I need to pay attention because it's a bit. Yeah,
Tosin, just back to Bill Duke. Was he wasn't the dude in Predator? Was he with Arnie Schwarzenegger?
He was the dude in Predator.
Yeah, the one who's like with the yeah, it was
bald head, big eyes.
Yeah,
yeah.
That's funny, isn't it? I mean, I'm not very good at actors' names, but I remember that one because I know we digress a little bit, like I do, shoot off at a tangent. But in Predator, I really liked his role. I thought he had a great role in Predator. I really did. Anyway, sorry, go on. Back to
imagine that guy, but grown up.
Yeah.
Imagine that guy grew up, moved to New York, and became a basketball coach. But I think the film, as I said, it is rat-a-tat, and I thought because of what happens and all the machinations that are going on, you have to pay attention. I'm still not entirely sure what happens at the end. I think I need to go back and go, hang on. So what happened at the end? Who won? But I think that's supposed to be. But it's a really good thing. The cast is on song. Great film.
So is it pro owners or pro players, or is it pretty neutral? Would you say?
Ooh,
is it?
I
was putting you on the spot a bit.
No, I think this film it's sort of like more on the side of the players.
Right. Okay.
I think the film comes across as more on the side of the players, but it asks questions about it, and it says like, kind of like, okay, how much is too much money? When does greed stop? And I think it's a very stylish made movie about quite a thorny subject, and I just really, really love the way they did it. Yeah. And I could not believe it was made on an iPhone. I'll give it a 4.
Could you almost say that it was like a companion to things like Moneyball, where it's a sports film, but it's not really about the sport. It's about things that go on around the peripheries.
Because Moneyball was great. Yeah, Moneyball was.
But that really wasn't about baseball, was it? It was about
the
system,
like
or how you can how the system works for good or ill.
Sharon,
really.
I think you have hit the nail on the head. I honestly think you have.
She's good at that. Ouch.
Yeah. It's a sports movie that isn't really about sports. You don't really get much basketball played in it or anything like that. It's because even the tagline is how to play the game behind the game. So it's not really about the sports. There's hardly any basketball in it. It's all about what happens behind the scenes in basketball.
Yes, that makes it slightly more interesting to me, I have to say, because like Moneyball, I couldn't be more disinterested in baseball, but I thought that was a really interesting film.
Terrific film.
And so I think basketball means nothing to me whatsoever. So, but I think the film sounds, intriguing. So a 4 is a good recommendation.
That's a good recommendation.
Yeah, I would, but just remember, have your subtitles on.
Right. Probably will need to, because I'm not very good with American accents anyway. I think I don't watch enough television to be that familiar with it. So every now and then I'm thinking, what did he just say?
Yeah. I quite like, because sometimes in some films when they mention, like, I can't even remember what the film was, but they were saying about, they mentioned like American quarterbacks, or there's American references in films, and people probably don't know who they are, and I do, and I'm like, oh yeah, I know
who that is. Yeah, and I was thinking, no idea.
Is it a bit like in Cold Pursuit when they go Elway or Manning?
Elway or Manning, yeah, exactly right. Elway or Manning, you have no clue, have you? No. Elway, Cold Pursuit. Well, I said that. I think we was in there, and I said,
and you said because one of the questions was who was the best quarterback, and you immediately said Elway. And
I said because I said Elway before even they said it on the screen. Because obviously being in Denver, and Elway was like in the 80s, John Elway was like the class quarterback. And I said it, didn't I? Do you remember when he said it was the best quarterback? I remember you saying it, because I was thinking, who? I couldn't name a quarterback from any in the last 2 centuries. I just couldn't do it. Yeah. So I've actually been to the football stadium in Denver, Mile High Stadium.
Mile High Stadium.
That's what it's called. Yeah, that's because it's like a mile high.
It must be quite hard to breathe there.
Yeah. I think I can't really remember about the breathing. I think I was just so excited to be there
the whole time.
Yeah, I've been to Colorado, and I definitely had. I remember running up a flight of stairs and wondering, why am I so out of breath?
Yeah.
Why do I feel like I need to have a rest? It's really when people are like, that's because we're a mile out. And I'm like, what? All right. But that's 4 stars for that. And. Cool. Okay, cool. We're going to go on to Fighting with My Family. Unfortunately, it's going to be my voice again because I'm the only one who's seen this. And Fighting with My Family is a film about a wrestling family from Norwich.
From Norwich?
From Norwich.
Hasn't it got The Rock?
It has got The Rock in it.
Yeah, it's got Sharon's little favourite.
Is it directed? Yeah, directed by Stephen Merchant. So you wouldn't put him down as a WWE fan, would you?
No, you wouldn't.
No,
but I think this one.
Yeah, well, I think you should, Sean. I think you would really, really like this film. So, Fighting My Family. It's based on a documentary that was called "The Wrestlers Fighting My Family" that was on Channel 4 a couple of years ago, and it's all about. Essentially, it's about a lady called Paige. She's a WWE wrestler, and she's what they call the female arm of WWE is referred to as the Divas, and it's essentially her life story, how she came from coming from Norwich and from not the most privileged background in Norwich to being this world superstar in America because they're just like two worlds that you just really can't put together. And I think that's one of the things I really, really like about this film. It's like it does a lot of contrasting the lifestyle in Norwich to the lifestyle in Florida, where she ends up going to, and she ends up training and all that kind of stuff. It's a bit of a rags to riches tale. It's a bit of a biopic. It's a bit of like, the sport movie that starts off in one place and then through adversity and all that, oh my God, they won the championship. It's one of those films. It's one of those films, but it's done with just so much heart. And I think the fact that this is one of those films, but it's a film that starts in Norwich. It gives it a different sheen. It gives a different sheen. I've seen the documentary Fighting with My Family, and I think the family is fascinating because this entire family, their whole life is wrestling. Their dad is called Rowdy Ricky Knight. He's a wrestler, and their mum is called Sweet Saraya Knight. She's a wrestler as well. They both sort of like they both credit wrestling with getting them out of drugs and out of jail and all that kind of stuff. But the entire family is built into their only source of income is wrestling. Everything about this whole family, if you're in this family, you're into wrestling. And to see the way the family goes, and they go into the wrestling ring and they fight against each other, and you have like brother fighting against sister, all that kind of stuff. It's really, really, I think that the family is one of those wonderful cases of like, eccentricity that you just look and go, this is awesome. I want to see more of these people. And I think the film is perfectly cast because you have Lena Headey, who plays the mother. And having seen the real mother in the documentary, I think Lena Headey gets it like spot on. You have Nick Frost, who plays the dad, and he does it really, really well, and it's just so very English. They're just so very English. So when you actually have them coming up against the Americans, because Vince Vaughn shows up as the guy who phones up and says, I want to sign your daughter to come to the WWE and all that. But in the midst of all this, they also do a lot of stuff with a family drama, because this family has two kids who are really into wrestling. There's the daughter and there's the son. And the daughter, she got picked for WWE and the son didn't. And the son is older. He started wrestling earlier. This has been his lifelong dream. And there's the whole thing about him having to sit back and watch his sister live his dream. And I think the film does that really well about how they do that. And they go a bit more into that than the documentary does. But I would recommend this film. It's a great sort of family film. It does, have that whole message about, have your family around you and all that kind of stuff. But I'll give it 4. I think the Norwich scenes keep it from becoming schmaltzy, and the outlook on life and the way they go about it, and some of the lines in it are just hilarious. So cool. I'll give Fighting with My Family 4 out of 5, and I'll recommend that. Yeah, if you guys get a chance, go see it.
I will. Yeah, I'll probably check that.
Racking my brains to think of, there was a play I saw at school about a woman who got into wrestling, and I'm talking about the sort of English style wrestling from like the 80s, where it's like Big Daddy and Kendo Nagasaki and all that sort of wrestling, that was hugely popular on a Saturday afternoon when I was growing up. It was like the thing to watch, and it was about a girl who, I'm trying to think what her name was. It was something like Trafford Tamsey, or there was an interesting name about it, but I remember seeing that play at school, and this just reminded me of that, about this wrestling family and how the wrestling world really transformed their lives. But that was very English, but I'm just desperately trying to wrap my brains to think of what it was called. But I'm trying to think, was it Trafford something? But we watched it at school, that they'd set up a wrestling ring in the middle of our school auditorium, and we were encouraged to shout insults at the different.
Nice.
Yeah. Nice. That's what they do. That's what they do in this film, and I think it's the contrast between these people who set up a ring and wrestle in a village hall in Norwich, compared to when they go to America, and then there's a scene where they go to WrestleMania, and it's just kind of so. It actually makes you think it's mental that a girl from Norwich ended up there. How did that happen? But it's really good, and I think the performances are brilliant. Florence Pugh, who plays
she's
Paige.
Very good.
Yeah, Florence Pugh is good. Jack Lowden, who was in 71, Sean, he plays the brother. Zodiac.
Oh wow!
Yeah, and
he was in Dunkirk as well. He was one of the pilots in Dunkirk.
Yeah, he was.
When he went into the sea.
I would totally recommend that. I would recommend you watch this film. I think it's
because I mean, there's not like huge amounts on. I don't think next week, so that'll be one to catch up, and perhaps we'll see it together, and we'll give you our thoughts. Yeah,
but that play was called Trafford Tansey, and it was a very similar thing about this woman who takes to the ring.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you. I'll tell you what film I want to see for next week is The Kid Who Would Be King.
Okay, I'll let you have that one then. That's your one. I won't be worrying with that. I don't think for me.
Okay, all right, cool. I could talk more about Fighting with My Family because I love the film, but let's move on. And so now we have Sean. How do you say this? A photographer of
Mauthausen.
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 So tell us about this. You saw this on Netflix.
Yeah, well, this basically Mauthausen was one of the early concentration labour camps of Nazi Germany, and basically this is the story about Spanish. They were in the Spanish Civil War. So they're Spanish communists basically, and Franco has sort of shoved them Germany and said you can have them as forced labour if you want. So they work at this. They work at Mauthausen, the concentration camp. And gradually, as the film goes on, there's more. There's like Jews that get exported, and there's more and more. But obviously, being as they're Spanish, and they're slightly different to what would say the rest of the camp. But they've got this photographer. There's a German officer who takes photographs of different photographs, and obviously these two Spanish guys are his assistants. And they move around, they move the camera and the lights and all that, and produce the films and the photographs. And then one of them decides that he needs to keep the negatives or hide the negatives in different places, so that when the war finishes or whatever, they've got a record of it. Because they've got a record of the atrocities and things that go on. So it's a concentration camp movie. And it's subtitled. So I mean, it's a foreign film.
It's a Spanish film, yeah.
It's a Spanish film, yeah. So obviously, the Spanish, they talk Spanish a lot between them. And, I mean, there's I suppose it's quite good in the way that it shows some of the things that went on, because there are certain inmates in this thing that obviously are prostitutes, and the German officer says to him, "Oh, because you've helped me so much, I'm going to, you pay for you to go one of these." And what he does, he gives the prostitute these negatives to sort of hide. Anyway, as the war, as it proceeds and the war gets on and the Russians are more and more liberated, they suddenly, they want to destroy the stuff, obviously, to destroy all the evidence. So they say, right, all the photographs and that, and then they sort of somehow discover, and I mean, I won't say what happens next, but you can imagine the type of thing. So, that's basically the story. Spanish rebels in a German concentration camp.
Yeah, you don't tend to think of
you don't know
Franco's sort of rejects, as they were,
yeah.
or people who from the Spanish Civil War still being directly affected by the Second World War, because you tend to forget that it immediately preceded the Second World War, unless you've read like The Prime of Miss Jean Brodie, which it's all about. Yeah. So you tend to forget that it is part of. Yeah,
there's a couple of scenes reminding me of Schindler's List as well, because obviously you've got the Nazi, the horrible Nazi, and the one that's like pretty just goes along with things as they are. So you've got all the stock characters, and obviously they get sent to this party where, like, it's obviously an officer party, with German. They go along with the lights so they can take photographs of the family and what's going on in that, and they've got some of the inmates being waiters and waitresses and stuff. So I mean, that's quite a good scene. That's quite an interesting thing. Some interesting things happen there. Yeah. So
Sharon,
yes,
Sharon, you have some competition as my Netflix Indiana Jones person. It's like I'll be like, Sean, go find me something interesting. I'm like, oh, what? Because I'm looking at it now. This looks well interesting. It looks
and it's fairly new to Netflix. I think it was new this month.
Yes, it's a new release.
It's a new release. So
yeah.
So
how many stars would you give it, Sean?
Well, I'd have to give it. I mean, I didn't think it was amazingly good, but I would give it a really, really strong 3, possibly bordering a 4. I mean, I don't think I could quite give it a 4 because there's a few moments, but I should imagine a lot of people will really, really enjoy this film from that. That's the way it is. And obviously, after that, that's when I spoke earlier about watching the documentaries. I sort of, because obviously when it comes up, it goes, oh, you might be interested in these documentaries, like about concentration camps and stuff and all that.
You watched a film about a certain concentration camp. You might be interested in this.
Yeah, that's right. So it's definitely a strong 3, bordering a 4. So it's worth a watch.
All right. Yeah, cool. I think I might have to go find some time. Oh my word.
Well, you see this one. You see this one, and me and Sharon will go. We'll go together. We'll try and make a point of going to see The Rock because she likes The Rock. I
like The Rock's twinkle.
So we'll do that. We'll pick a day. Day. You know, we'll go.
Yeah, is it like the Rock is good at this because obviously he plays himself.
Yeah, he can, can't he? Yeah.
Well, no. I mean, he literally plays himself because
turned up to Pages, 10. It's like he's The Rock, but turned up to 11. Really, that's in Spinal Tap verse. So because in this film, because in the true life story, he actually met Paige and he knew her while she was doing her training and all that kind of. So he's actually a part of her story. So cool. he plays himself in the film. And he is quite funny. And there's one particular thing that if you know anything about the history of what's been going on behind the scenes of the Fast and Furious movies, there's a line about
talk to me about Fast and Furious movies. I can't do them. I'm really not a big fan of them. You know that.
Yeah, I know that. But if you know anything of what's been going on behind the scenes of the Fast and Furious movies, like essentially, let me put it this way: there's a reason why The Rock and Jason Statham are having their own spin-off without Vin Diesel. There's a line about Vin Diesel in the film that is hilarious. That's absolutely hilarious. All right, cool. Anyway, so we have collated the scores. We have gone through Netflix. We have gone through cinema this week, and we have come to the point where we say who the winner is. And this week, the winner is Netflix.
Netflix. Yeah. Ooh. Convincingly this week, is it? Or is it a convincing week for Netflix?
It's actually a bit closer. Netflix has won by 0.2 of a point.
Wow.
It's 0.2 of a point. So, yeah, it's 3.6 as opposed to 3.4. So, when we average the scores out. So, Netflix, we say that this week we had a better time at Netflix. So, all that's left to do is to say, I hope you guys really enjoy Fighting With My Family. I will try to see The Photographer of Mauthausen. And let's see what else is on the cinema for next week. Oh, I will definitely see The Kid Who Would Be King because that's Joel Cornish, and I like Joel Cornish. He did Attack the Block, which I know some people don't like, but I don't understand.
No, I thought it was really good.
Yeah, and this is him. It's kind of his take on the Arthurian legend, but set in a South London school.
Yeah,
that'd be good then.
It sounds mad. It sounds absolutely mad. I'm really looking forward to that. So all that's left to say is goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me.
And goodbye from me. See you later.
Everyone. Thanks for listening. See you next week.